the new Hunter's abilities revealed, and a ton of adjustments. Let's begin. Welcome back to another episode, guys. This week we've got the Thanksgiving event, where if you complete Thanksgiving event tasks, you'll be able to receive a portrait frame, 3 memory spheres, and 3 ranking protection cards. We're also getting a 40% off skin discount card, an A-tier furniture piece that is a graffiti display wall, where I'm assuming you'll be able to put graffiti. I don't think they've released a video for it yet, but I'm sure that this week they'll reveal kind of like a video showcasing what it can do. You'll also be able to get a character unlock card, and during this event, all characters will be free to use, even if you don't own them. In the store, we're getting some new content, including the A-tier toy merchant accessory Dance of Dragons, although I don't really know what that one is. Have they revealed a video for that? I didn't look into it. I forgot to. And there's also Gardener's new accessory Returning Swallow. Again, I don't really know which ones these are. Maybe I have. If I have, I'll put them on the screen. Maybe I just haven't remembered which ones they are. There's some returning content being added to the store, including a ton of S-tier skins, including Mercenary's Cheshire skin, Prisoner's Paranormal Detective skin, Gardener's After the Rain skin, Toy Merchant's Myriad Blossoms, The Feaster's Necromancer, Clerk's Creator, and Violinist's Crescent Knight. There's also some Ivory Tower series skins returning, such as the ones for Dr. Perfumer, Mercenary Coordinator, Gardener, and Batter, and a ton of 1 series skins returning as well, including Ripper's 1, Gravekeeper's 1, First Officer's 1, Doctor's 1, and Violinist's 1 as well. There's a character day this week as well. On the 22nd, we're getting Lucky Guy's character day. It's going to be his 7th character day, meaning he's getting an animated graffiti. So it seems like they're returning back to the cycle of portrait, graffiti, whatever comes next. And I believe this week we should also be getting the final push, as I believe it's the last week before the beginning of the next season. So that means you'll be getting increased logic points limits, and all of those things like guaranteed higher rolls on the 10 or 20 sided dice. I think it's the 20 sided dice. You get what I mean. Apart from that, that's all that I know that we're getting this week. So let's talk about some of the upcoming content, of which we've seen the reveal of Queen Bee's abilities. Now, they did do a kind of a showcase a while ago during the special live stream that we had, I think it was last month, but we didn't have a good explanation exactly of what she does, but now we do. She's got the external trait Swarm of Insects, where she's able to control a swarm of insects. Quite logically, she's quite similar to Entomologist in many ways. She's quite similar to Entomologist in quite a few ways. The Swarm of Insects have 3 different states they can be in. They can be in the dormant state, where they're kind of stationary. They don't affect survivors anyway, so survivors can pass through them without anything happening. There's the predatory state, where she's able to kind of control the swarm herself, and if the swarm touches a survivor, then Queen Bee gets energy. Doing so after a short delay will build up even more energy, and she also gets a movement speed increase for a short period of time after the swarm has touched a survivor. So you can keep on touching them to get the boost, touching them to get the boost, and also to get energy. This energy can then be used later on to use her abilities. And the final state is Synergy state, and this is where she calls the bees to herself, similar to Entomologist, and then she can merges with them, and this gives her an increased interaction speed. It only really showcases her breaking pallets, but it says in the description it helps her to vault faster, so I'm assuming it's all interaction speeds. Now for her main abilities. She has Hive Pathing. A little difficult to tell exactly how this works from the video, but by holding the ability button, she's then able to create pathways that the bees will then follow. I think it follows your kind of hand or wherever you're doing, like similar to how you can control where to place the feaster's tentacle. You have that kind of sort of control. You can draw like a line on the floor and the bees will follow that. I think the bees follow slightly slower than, your maximum movement speed. You do seem to have some control over, being able to just do a close quarter, wiggle left and right to be able to hit survivors with the bees. She's also able to cancel the travel time of these bees as they follow the path, or recall them to herself at any time to be able to enter the synergy state. Her second ability is Stinger. She uses energy that of course she built up from sending the swarm to touch a survivor to shoot a stinger, I'm assuming in the direction of the camera. It looks like that was what the case was, and if this little kind of stinger does hit the survivors, then it will do a chip hit worth of damage. The next ability is Reciprocate. This is where she can dash towards the location of her bees, and she seems to just phase through objects here, so she ignores obstacles, and she enters the synergy state, where the bees of course are attached to her as soon as she gets to the location of the swarm. So basically the idea is you control the swarm, leave the swarm in the location, or I'm assuming even when it's moving, and then you can dash to its location quite quickly. I think this is a full presence version of Reciprocate. It's called Reflexive Stinger. After using Reciprocate, so this is the dashing towards the location of the swarm, she can use energy to shoot a stinger briefly upon arriving at the swarm's location. So she kind of pops out of the swarm, and then if you press it at the right time, you can shoot another, chip hit worth damage of a stinger. And her final ability is called Hive Cluster. When arriving at the swarm's location, she becomes the swarm. She actually becomes the bees, the swarm that's there. And she moves at a higher movement speed, but consuming energy whilst she's in this form. She's able to switch back to her main body whenever she wants to, or she can actually just shoot a stinger for a slightly increased energy cost in the direction of whichever way she wants to transform again back into her main form. This form also seems to be able to pass through windows and pallets, but not through walls. But the movement speed is pretty high, so she's a great character if you want to move around the map. We got a slightly better look at Sculptor's S-tier Whimsy series skin, as they kind of did a different alternate art for it. The S-tier skin is called Caged Doll, and as I've mentioned before, it has way too many shoes on it, but I still think it's quite cool. Shoes here, shoes there. It seems also like she has some like speech bubbles popping out of her, similar to how we had the Weeping Clown's Whimsy series skin that also had little kind of speech bubbles coming out of it. It seems like this is going to be a similar effect for the whole entire series, but yeah, you'll be able to purchase this on November 27th for Fragments and Echoes. Now, NetEase has announced a ton of adjustments coming to the game of Identity V, and the translation that we've got here is from IDVJP_TL on Twitter. Also, you can find their page, I believe, on IDV Clues page. This is basically the person that does a lot of the translations for them. There are some changes coming to Hunter Persona web traits. I'll be showcasing them on the screen here if you want to read more details. Most of these are all nerfs, so a lot of Hunter nerfs here. And Survivor Persona webs that are getting adjusted are healing, touch effect, empathy, sensory adaptation, distraction, and knee-jerk reflex, of which I believe most of these are getting buffed here, but there are some adjustments where they're kind of going up and down. They are improving Hunter attack animations, so they align better with hitboxes. They're increasing the base rescue speed just slightly to be a little bit faster. They're going to be adding effects for rescuing, so when you've successfully rescued someone, there's going to be an effect. I'm not sure if this is going to be visible to hunters, but there's apparently going to be an effect. If the hunter confirms his character in the rank mode, now survivors will be able to see which hunter has been picked before they actually get into the match. That's actually quite a big change. So yeah, there aren't going to be surprise dream witches anymore, or I guess surprise other characters like Wu Chang. But that's okay, and the character cannot be changed after it has been confirmed. They're making some quick message changes where they're removing the send your location. They're automatically going to fill in the hunter is X hunter when the character has been revealed, and you won't be able to change it. There's going to be a new message called where is the cipher machine with the most decoding progress. This is a really, really good one in my opinion. And a new flywheel effect cooldown indicator to show how many seconds you've got left until your flywheel pops back up again. And they're doing some character knowledge point adjustments that you can see on the screen here. Now, I think some of the bigger changes, the ones that we're going to see the most, are going to be character adjustments. They're going to adjust quite a few hunters and quite a few survivors here. With Geisha, they're increasing her attack range, her recovery time is a little bit shortened, her hit detection has been improved, and they've shortened some animations and some cooldowns. Naiad's humidity will now take longer to start decreasing, so you'll start losing that water percentage a little bit later. She's now able to dash without entering her swimming mode, without throwing her harpoon. That's a little bit scary, but okay. And they've also nerfed a little bit her attack animation, so she now takes a little bit longer to do her attack. Axe Boy is getting a shortened cooldown for using, I think it's his fireball. There's going to be a sound cue for Axe Boy when he hits a survivor with the fireball. I thought there already was one, but maybe they're making it better. And they're also slightly increasing his camera height. Qist seems to be getting a ton of quality of life improvements to the selection of his orb things. Not exactly sure what it meant here, but you can read it on the screen. Bloody Queen is getting a change where the summon location of her mirror can now be seen through obstacles. So I'm assuming that's more of like a quality of life thing. Now for survivors, Doctor is getting a new ability called Medical Booster that instantly gives her 40% of her self-healing progress, and she gets 2 of these medical booster packs. Kind of crazy, but to counter this, they've removed the entire 5% healing buff that she gives to the entire team. Don't completely understand the wording for this, so you guys can explain it down in the comments here, but it seems like she now has like a damage reduction effect for 1 normal attack for 3 seconds after using Euphoria. Toy Merchant gets a little change where items picked up by survivors from her containers now have a cooldown, but she's able to move whilst aiming her catapult, or wherever she wants to put it. The launching button to be able to catapult yourself is a little bit faster, appears faster. The picking up animation for catapults is faster as well. They've removed the syringe from the item pool. I can imagine that's one of the ones that spawn in your little kind of box that you have in your bag. And the chest opening speed has been halved. Lawyer's note-taking ability, where he gets passive buffs from moving faster, vaulting windows, stuff like that, just by existing and doing things, has been increased by double, but it's triple if you're using your map whilst doing these interactions. So that's going to kind of buff him quite a lot, as he'll get all of his buffs much faster, but only during the first 30 seconds of the match, I believe. Puppeteer is getting a change where if Undaunted, that's his kind of shield effect, blocks damage or a control effect, he'll get a movement speed for a short period of time after Lewis ends, I believe. So this means he transforms back again, he gets a buff, like a movement speed increase for a bit. He can now transform into Lewis when in Tide Turner. That's quite a big change. Lewis's duration of him being Lewis is a little bit longer, and the movement speed increase that he gets upon being hit is also going to last a little bit longer here. Priestess has been buffed. This was something I was worrying about, but it's not that crazy. They've slightly shortened the portal animation time, so it's faster to place a portal on a wall, and survivors can now see the closest portals. Gardener's bubble toggle, you know, the thing that lets her kind of either choose to use the bubble or not. This toggle can now be changed even if she has her abilities negated or if she's stunned, so you can still choose between using the shield or not. The bubble can now be summoned when stunned or trapped, I think, or just standing still because of a control effect. Bubbles, the bubble will now disappear only when receiving 1 normal attack's worth of damage. I believe this means that you can't use chip hit now to get rid of it, as I understand. Professor will now have 2 scales spawn at the beginning of the match. The cooldown of his shield has slightly also been shortened if he doesn't block an attack, you know, he messes up or something like that. Cowboy is now going to have a new toggle. I'm assuming this is not in the settings, but actually going to be a toggle within the match called target selection. You can select between all for all things like map or hunter or survivor, character only, so this would be hunter or survivor, so you can kind of select if you only want to aim at, you know, balloon rescues, for example, and map component only, where you'll be able to select palettes and stuff instead of kind of getting interrupted by it accidentally selecting a character instead. Now let's talk about some rumors, as the China server has been theorizing, as they usually do, about potential crossovers that we're getting in the future, and there's talk that there's a potential Card Captor Sakura crossover coming in the future. I do not know what it is, but the theory is because On My OG, another game from NetEase, has a collab with them, or had one recently. This series was on a survey that NetEase gave us. There's also the protagonist of this series was part of Joker Studios' Chinese New Year greetings artwork. So yeah, there are tons of little things that have been hinted at as to why we might be possibly getting this crossover. Now, if you haven't already watched the video that is right there, then you definitely should, because YouTube thinks that you will like it.